Ed with the TED Show. How's everybody today? Super excited to have my longtime friend, the amazing, the talented, the best hair on the planet, Debo Ofsowitz is with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
After all of this time, we've been trying for so long to get you on. It was definitely my scheduling issues and definitely my problem with technology that messed us up to begin with. But we've been friends. We met at MBA, which is now the Pride Chamber. Through our friend Nate Carrick, who I haven't seen in 1,000 years. Shout out to Nate.
Same.
And we just, there's something about Debo that just makes you want to be around her. She's got a great smile. She is personable. She cares. I mean, I could go on and on, but I'm attracted to people like that. I love to be around people like that. And so it's been an easy friendship for me. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. Finally.
Finally, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I know about you, but I don't think they may know about you. So give us a little background, a little origin story on you, maybe a little bit about your journey here, because we have a lot to talk about.
Sure. I can concise it. I was raised in Sarasota, Florida, and I came to Orlando 30 years ago. Do the math, to go to college, and I didn't want to leave. I found this town amazing, and so I stayed. I came out late in life. I was actually 34 when I came out.
I did not know that.
Yep. And but since then, I have done a lot of work in the LGBT community and have really gotten deeply involved. And I had a pretty easy journey coming out. My parents were super amazing about loving and accepting me. It really is. But along the way, I met tons of people who didn't have that blessing.
Yeah.
So that really spurred me because
I loved when I met you. I kept thinking she's got to be a big advocate. This must be a big advocate somewhere, and you are, and you have been. You have served on the committees for pretty much everything that has to do with LGBT plus. You've done it all, and so I love your advocacy heart. So talk to people about how that made a difference in your life as far as the advocacy part, because you mention it, but I believe that when you become an advocate, it changes you.
It absolutely did. My initial volunteer work wasn't related to the LGBTQ community. But once I started attending the Pride Chamber, back then MBA events, and then I was invited to participate on Come Out with Pride board, I said fired up, and
should be.
Yeah, and I started getting more involved. I mean, the reason I got involved in Pride is because it's a very family friendly event. It gives a lot of youth an experience where they get to see people like themselves, gay, lesbian, transgender, queer, people of color that are in that community, and they get to recognize, wow, this is possible. Like there's somebody out there like me. I can be this way, and it helps them to sort of support themselves in a way, and it helps them to find a network of support if they don't have it at home. So being an advocate started to drive me to make those kinds of changes. But then on a personal level, what it did for me was it changed the direction of my own life. My volunteer work, I was able to build a lot of really deep friendships through people that I used to just ask to donate to my auction, and now those are people that are like genuine friends, people I have in my home, people that attended my weddings, things like that.
Yeah, you were the Raffle Girl.
Yes, exactly.
That's right. I did, literally, when you said that, you were the Raffle Girl. That's
Yep.
what you did, because that's one of the hardest jobs if you've ever done a fundraiser, where you have to walk around and ask for people for a little more money to get into a raffle. And I remember you had such great energy. You always you always looked cool, and you were always on it and on fire. And I think that is a hard role, and you took it to task. I always knew you were coming, and I didn't run from you,
right?
Which a lot of people run from the raffle person.
Sure. I think part of that, too, is I let people off the hook. If they didn't have the money or they didn't want to give, I never made anybody feel guilty. And when they were able to give, I always made them feel appreciated, because nobody should feel guilty for not being able to give, because sometimes I can't give some, I mean, that I had a period of time where money was tight and I couldn't give the way I wanted to. But that doesn't mean that you can't, somehow be a supportive in a way. And so a lot of people who don't give money end up volunteering and becoming advocates. And
let's talk about that, because we talk about it on the show a lot. If people steer away from volunteerism because they think that means they have to have the money to do it. And your story is so great and such a great example. You did the volunteer work, you gave back of your time, which is still precious, and it led you in a different path, down a different path, to a career, to a place where you, and so I think people underestimate the value of donating that time. You get the friendships, yes, you get the wonderful fulfillment of helping, but it can also change the way your life is going to be just by making that decision, and you haven't had to cut a check, so to speak.
Right.
People get caught up in that.
I always tell people when they feel kind of unfulfilled in their lives to find a cause they believe in and volunteer with passion, because like you said, I developed friendships, but also in the beginning I was able to balance my volunteer work with my job. And eventually when I found that as a challenge, I said, you know what? I need to change the way things are. I need to figure out a way to work in the nonprofit world and get paid for it, because this is where my heart is. And so I worked with a friend of mine to redevelop my resume and put it out there. And now I have a paid nonprofit job where I'm helping to impact and change lives for the better in the LGBTQ and allied community in Central Florida. And I don't have to balance it with my job because it is my job. And
I love that.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about letters in a minute, because I love what you said earlier. But I think that there is still a group, an audience, that maybe can say LGBTQIA plus, and the letters will come in a minute. Can you kind of, people know, I think, what LGBT is, but can you go through that? You don't have to go all the way down.
I was going to say,
I know.
Honestly, even as a member of the community, I don't know all the letters.
But like Q, I think a lot of people don't. Questioning or queer,
right,
correct?
Questioning or queer.
I is
intersex.
And A could be ally or asexual.
Asexual. Yeah.
And so I think that people don't even understand what that means when they're saying it out loud.
Sure.
But talk about the letter part, because I want to get to 26 Health. So I love this part of this, because when you said that earlier, I got the chills.
Oh, that it's your letter, it matters?
Yes.
Yeah. It can become an alphabet soup, but the problem is that when you say LGB plus or LGBT plus or LGBTQ plus, the plus is still marginalized, and we don't want anyone to feel marginalized. But because it becomes an alphabet soup, it can be challenging for people. So the plus, I think, is a nice compromise.
Right.
But if it's your letter, it matters, and that's the same with anybody. If it's your demographic, it matters. If it's your color, it matters. If it's your religion, it matters. And
such a powerful statement.
Thank you.
It really is.
Everybody should feel not tolerated, but accepted. Everybody should feel welcome. Everybody should feel like they count.
I agree, and I think that we just trip over the letters sometimes, like we were talking about earlier, or we don't realize the value of that letter and how important it is to that group. But I think that we have to find ways to educate ourselves. So I try to educate here on the show. That's why I asked us to go through a couple of the letters that I think people just add. They know to say if they don't even know what it means.
Right.
So let's talk about your current career, because you're making an impact in the community, and you have, feels like you've got a clean slate to get so much done.
Yes.
So talk about that.
And going along the lines with the letters and how every letter matters, I feel very fortunate to be a part of an organization called 26 Health, Care for Every Letter. 26 Health is a nonprofit community health clinic. We accept patients and take care of them regardless of insurance, regardless of their ability to pay, regardless of their legal status, and regardless of where they fall on the LGBTQ and allied spectrum.
Wow.
So we can take care of straight people, we can take care of gay people, transgender people, anywhere that anybody falls, and we have LGBTQ plus cultural competency. So our patients, no matter where they come from, are going to feel like they matter.
Love that. So talk about the health part, because when you say take care of them, what's a day look like? Who's coming in and what are they coming in for?
Well, we're a primary care facility for both medical and behavioral health. So patients can come to us for their annual physical exam, their wellness visits, can come and get an antibiotic prescription for their strep throat, get their flu shot. They can also come for marriage counseling, or I'm really stressed out and I need to talk to somebody, or, if they have chronic depression and need medication management, we can handle all of that stuff. It's really pretty amazing. And we also have a program, an integrated healthcare program. We have one of our practitioners is both a mental health counselor and a registered nurse.
Wow.
And so she does therapeutic check-ins with our medical patients in order to integrate both the behavioral and the medical care, which a lot of studies have shown provides for the best outcomes for the patients and allows the patient to feel like they're getting the best treatment. So
how did 26 Health get started? Can you tell me?
Yes.
Because I think I didn't know about it until you, and that's the God's honest truth. So I've heard of the previous. You are doing amazing. An amazing job, and there's tons of people saying hi to you, by the way.
Oh, awesome!
Preston
hi.
and
hi, Preston.
Tony and Barbara. We love all of you guys.
Fantastic.
But I think that I didn't know the service was out there. It was originally Two Spirits, and I had heard of Two Spirits, but I still didn't know what that meant.
Sure.
And to have this kind of service available, I think we need to get the word out more, which is of course what you're doing.
So it actually began out of the behavioral health practice of one of the founders, Dr. David Baker Hargrove, who is a psychologist. And he did a lot of work with transgender patients. And he recognized a need for having, more services that would help the transgender community. But as the idea churned around in his head, he realized that most areas that have a large LGBTQ plus population have some kind of LGBTQ focused health center, and Orlando doesn't have one. So he decided that he was going to make it happen, and that's how back then it was Two Spirit Health Services. They opened in August of 2015, and less than a year later, the Pulse tragedy happened. So Dr. David was a first responder, a mental health first responder at 9/11, so he has that kind of experience. And whereas Heart of Florida United Way and Aspire Health were taking care of the victims' families and the survivors, David looked around and he said, who's taking care of the rest of the community?
Right.
So he coordinated with the Zebra Coalition hotline, coordinated, I think it was over 650 mental health professionals. A lot of them came from out of the area and, volunteered and came down here. And in the first 3 weeks after the incident, there were over 1,000 individual mental health encounters with people setting up respite tents at the vigils, mental health professionals going out to, the nightclubs, being on call 24 hours a day, and really taking care of the community. And we still take care of people that have been affected by Pulse. So that's how 26 Health grew into what it is today. When they opened, the medical space was only open 1 day a week. Now it's open 5 days a week. It's pretty amazing. And we have a lot of bicultural and bilingual providers, and we live our diversity. We have an L, we have a G, a B, a T.
Oh, that's awesome.
We have a lot of nationalities. I think over 70% of our staff identifies as female. So we really try to walk the walk as well as talk the talk.
And what's your role?
So I am their new development manager.
Congratulations.
They did not have anybody in development before. So prior to this, they have survived through some government programs and government grants. So we get grants from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, and there's another organization that I can't remember.
That's okay.
I remember the letters, but I don't remember what they stand for. HRSA, but I don't remember what they stand for. But we get grants from those organizations, and perhaps the organization can continue to function that way, but we can't grow our services.
Correct.
And there's a lot of communities that are still in need. We have communities right here in Central Florida that are identified as being medically underserved, and we want to serve those communities. We're developing, one of our staff members, I'm going to do a shout out, Angela Martinez, our special projects manager, is developing an outreach to the Apopka farm workers. They have a clinic, the UCF has a clinic come out once every 3 months for the farm workers. And what do they do for the rest of that time? They can't get medical care. So we want to fill in those gaps.
That is a daunting Herculean task.
Yes.
What you're taking on. What kind of help do you need from the community? What can somebody do to get involved? Because I believe that all of us have been touched, even though it has the LGBT plus beginnings. You're talking about the farm workers.
Right.
So the spread and the touch that you're doing is ginormous. What can somebody do to help you grow and to help continue to service all of the underserved population?
Well, like you said, I am starting from scratch. So I am developing the development plan. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't have in place to allow people to get involved, but I am creating that. So the best thing to do right now is to get in touch with me. And because I'm starting to develop, working with our patient care team, to develop volunteer opportunities so people can get engaged that way. We are going to be having some informational, seminars, symposiums, dinners. I'm not sure, how that's going to appear, but places that people can attend and learn some more about what they can do. I personally love to give tours of the facility. The tour takes about 45 minutes to an hour, and I can take one person or a small group of people, and then they can really learn not just about what we do, but there's a lot of stuff people don't even know about the health of our community.
Agreed.
And I guarantee you, if you take one of those tours, you're going to learn something. So,
and I bet, I'm going to guess that because I know how we feel about our city, the inclusion, diversity, I feel like we're one of the best places we could be overall. There's a lot around, but we do a very good job of trying to be inclusive. Are you working with other organizations? I heard you mention Heather's Debo Coalition earlier. So do you coordinate and collaborate in the city? Because I would imagine there's going to be somebody who comes into one of those programs that's going to need 26 Health.
So we have some organizations that we partner with directly, like Zebra Coalition, Miracle of Love. We're in the One Orlando Alliance, so we can coordinate with those organizations. We are connected with the center. And then we also have had connections with some of the homeless shelters. Unfortunately, a lot of our constituency have unstable housing. And if you look at organizations like the Salvation Army, where there's been a period of time where a lot of LGBT people thought that they were not a welcoming place, but they have actually done a lot of work to make their shelters safe for our community.
Jennifer's post on that from One Orlando Alliance. That was a fascinating post because you're right, the perception for them, not to pick on them, but the perception prior was that wasn't necessarily the safest or the best place for you to go for in the LGBT plus community.
When actually they are probably one of the more safe places for adults to go. So it's so we work with a lot of organizations in that way, and we're trying to continue to work more. We have started our relationship with UCF right now, and the UCF School of Medicine. Who does the farm workers, so we're coordinating with them. And part of my role is, I just started touching with Orlando Health and hope to, connect with Advent Health and, really see where we can serve the community more.
I think it's so important. Like, there's so many needs out there. and I think people get overwhelmed when you talk about the need, but you really do have to start somewhere. So you started 1 day a week, and then you expand with the need as much as you possibly can because you get everyone in and collaborate. I think a lot of people shut down when they say, well, God, that sounds like there's so much going on, Debo. You wouldn't even be able to find a place for me. Too many services. I don't even know what communities you're talking about. That's too much for me. And I just want to challenge you guys not to think like that. This sort of the topic is change the world by changing your own little corner of it. And I think that's such a powerful thing. So you can do one step. You can reach out to Debo and say, hey, I'd like to help. How? Because you all are a big resource. You just don't know it. And so it's not just your checkbook. It's your database. I didn't want to say Rolodex, because that would really take me. But it's your database. It's your periphery. It's your whatever piece, centers of influence.
Introduce me to people.
Introduce her to people that may have a service, may have something that's in the mental health arena, in the medical arena, in the massage arena, in the, there's so many things that can contribute to a more positive, healthy experience and life. And so don't let it overwhelm you, I guess. I try to tell people that. Start with the thing, you mentioned it earlier. What's your passion? What do you want to help? Do you want to help the homeless LGBT plus community? So start there and reach out to Debo and let's try to figure it out. I don't want you to just think this is just way beyond my scope. Believe me, helping humanity is way beyond all of our scope. If we let it be that way, we have to start with the one corner of your world, and you started.
That's exactly why I, thought of that topic. If you look at the world today, there's a lot of distressing things to go on, or that are going on, and it's really hard if you look at the big picture. You think, gosh, what can I do? Where do I fit in? At fires in Australia and war in the Middle East, which has been going on my entire life. And beyond. So you look at those things, and you look even just here at home, and policies, laws in our own state to both the House and the Florida House and the Florida Senate have introduced several anti-LGBT laws. And you look at that stuff and you think, well, gosh, I'm only one vote. What can I do? I don't have time to knock on doors. I don't have time. I don't have money. But if you can just pick one thing that you can put your energy towards, and you can make that difference, and everybody does it, it's kind of like if everybody gives $1,
correct.
It compounds, and you end up with a tidal wave. Ripples make waves.
Agreed.
So, drop your little pebble in there, and you will be amazed at what kind of difference you can make.
So we're going to share all of Debo's contact information, how you can reach out to her, how you can get involved. Since you don't know her except for today, if you want me to be the person, reach out to me. I don't want you to be inactive because you're not sure what you want to do. Let us talk you through it. We've done this, both of us, for so long on the advocacy side. I can ask you maybe 10 questions or less and kind of know where you're at. And we can at least begin somewhere instead of sitting at home watching this and going, God, I wish I could get involved. And you really can get involved. And it's just so powerful, the amount of impact that 26 Health is making in Central Florida. And I just think it's such a beautiful, wonderful program. So thank you for all you all do, Debo. I think it's amazing. So we're big on shout outs here. We're big on giving kudos, gratitude, saying it out loud, speaking it, for people who have made an impact on our lives, changed the trajectory. And so could you give a shout out, one or two, or whatever your heart tells you to do, to those people?
I have 2 people to shout out, and oddly, both of them are I was married to. Well, I'm married to one of them right now, my current wife, Debo Ofsowitz, who came from Brazil to learn English, and is also teaching me Portuguese. Eu te amo, meu amor. I would not probably be at 26 Health if it wasn't for her love and encouragement, and I am completely grateful every single day that she's in my life. And my other shout out goes to my ex-wife, with whom I'm still friends, and who is friends with my current wife. I first started my volunteer trajectory while I was married to my ex-wife, and that changed my entire direction. She supported me a great deal in my efforts when I was on the Pride board. She was actually the president of the MBA for a couple of years. So we shared in a lot of that love and advocacy for the community, and that definitely deeply affected me. So I'm very grateful to have both of those women in my life, and
Love it.
yeah, that's my
And I know and love them both.
Yes.
They're both amazing human beings, as are you. So thank you
you.
so much for sharing your journey and about 26 Health. So much that we can do together, and we just have to keep being together and being intentional about it. You got to say yes a little bit more in 2020 to the good things. Thanks for being on. Love you to pieces, Debo. Absolutely adore her, and we'll be back soon. We love you guys. Thanks, and we'll follow up on all the comments, and we'll share all of Debo's contact information. Get involved. See you later.